Chapter 7. This is going to start the axillary region, and more specifically, we're going to work on the blood vessels. So our first blood vessel we're going to start with is the axillary artery, and so this is the name we give this artery as soon as it comes out from underneath the clavicle bone. And it's going to have lots of tributaries, which is just a fancy word for saying branches. So this big vessel, this major highway that comes out underneath the clavicle, that is called our axillary artery. You can see there's lots of little branches that are just coming off of here. So our first branch is going to be called thoracoacromial artery, and this has 4 branches. So what it's going to look like is it's going to look something like this, almost like a little tree, as it has different branches that are going to go to the clavicle, the acromion, the pectoral region, and the deltoid region. So if you see something that has lots of little branches like this, or the very first branch that we're going to talk about on this axillary artery, you know it's thoracoacromial artery. The second branch comes off just after thoracoacromial artery, is called the long or lateral thoracic artery. And so if you'll recall, the long or lateral thoracic nerve is what innervated the serratus anterior muscle. So this artery is just going to go to that same muscle. It's going to go to the serratus anterior. So if you see the second branch going down to serratus anterior, you know what that is as well. It's the long thoracic artery or lateral thoracic artery. The third branch is called subscapular artery. And so subscapular artery also has 2 branches of its own. So how it's going to come off is, here's our first one, and it's just going to continue down, but it also has a part that comes in circles around like so. So this first section right here, before it branches, that's going to be subscapular. You get this name because it's going underneath the scapula bone. So the branches are going to be circumflex scapular artery, which is going to go around the axillary border of the scapula and go out to the posterior side. And that's what this one right here is, that's wrapping around. So if you see it curling around behind the scapula, you know that's circumflex scapular artery. Whereas the one that continues downward here is going to be the thoracodorsal artery. And so again, if you recall from the nerve that innervated a certain muscle, the latissimus dorsi muscle was innervated by a thoracodorsal nerve. And that's kind of what that terminology is telling you. This thoracodorsal artery is just going to be the one that continues downward down to the latissimus dorsi. So as we take a look, again, clavicle, we can see axillary artery just as it emerges out of there. And so our first branch right here, you can see it has multiple branches. I know it's that thoracoacromial artery. So that's the very first one. The second one, you can see as it pops off and it goes down onto the rib cage right here. And so you can imagine that's where that serratus anterior is located. That's exactly where it's going to. So that is the long or lateral thoracic artery. The third branch is the subscapular artery, which you see right here. And so we also see it branching off. So we're going to highlight these here. This one you can see curving around and going back behind the scapula. That is going to be the circumflex scapular artery. Whereas the one that continues just straight down, it's going to go all the way down to the latissimus dorsi. That is the thoracodorsal artery.